Hi everyone, Sean Bellis here, and today I'd like to talk to you about massage for the very first time. So I know it can be very intimidating and nerve-wracking for a complete stranger to touch your naked body, and I wanted to let you know that it's anything but massage is actually one of the greatest things you can do for yourself, especially when it comes for relaxation and pain relief. So I'm here to tell you that it's not so bad and kind of run you through what an initial massage appointment would be. Especially from a legit therapist, and things maybe to look out for if you're going to maybe a therapist that maybe you shouldn't be going to. All right, so on an initial appointment, you're going to be taking in an intake form, which I believe most states require therapists to do intake forms. And I'd be a little bit nervous if my therapist didn't do an intake form. And what the intake form is, it's your name, it's your contact information, and it's everything that might be going on with you, such as like maybe that crick in the neck, stiffness in the back, and then you go into any medications that you may be taking, any contraindicative stuff, like if you had, like a recent broken arm, of course, that might be obvious with the cast, but if you sprained something, if you have a skin condition, if you have blood pressure issues, those are the type of things you'd want to go over with your therapist and, before that initial appointment. So the therapist doesn't make anything worse, potentially. And also if there's like a skin condition you may have, that you don't pass it along to your therapist. So it's always very good to have that initial intake process. And that'll also, especially if you have like range of movement problems, if you're having pain in certain areas, your therapist can do assessments right before you get on the table, which they'll assess your range of movement and hopefully, get some good results of increasing your range of movement after the massage. So, any massage therapist worth their salt should, give your expectations for the massage. Maybe say, okay, we'll work at the neck, then we'll go to the back, then we'll work at the hips and the legs and the feet. And I know for some of those areas, such as like the hips, the gluteus muscles, some people are like, oh, I don't want that therapist to touch my butt, which I can completely understand. But you also got to know that the gluteus muscles are the biggest muscles, and they're one of the bigger muscles in your body. And a lot of times the reason why they do need to be worked over is because they can transmit pain into the upper back. You can have that literal pain in the butt that just doesn't go away, which, like I said, massage can do a really good job with. But the thing is we can always do massage over the sheet, which is at your comfort. And, there's other areas that, if there's some areas you don't want touched at all, such as your face or hair or maybe your feet because you're weirded out with feet, tell your therapist so they don't touch those spots. Now, but when it's time to get on the table, your therapist should emphasize that you address your comfort level. That can be absolutely everything, or it could be down to your underwear. And of course, for a first time, you're like, I'm not going down to everything. And you can totally leave your pants on. You can leave your shirt on. I've massaged people through their clothes before. Some people that don't want to take their clothes off come in, especially for some of my athletes, for the sports massage techniques. They come in with like t-shirt and shorts, and we do massage through that. So that could always be at your comfort level, okay? But generally, massage therapists will say undress to your comfort level because we want you to be comfortable. We don't want you to be nervous, because the more nervous and kind of contracted you are during the massage, the less the experience is going to be for you, the more of a bad experience you may have, if you will. All right, so you definitely want to communicate with your therapist, all right? And so the therapist should leave the room. Now, you should always have drape. Now, I have on my table back here, I have a sheet and the blanket, all right? So generally, I know in New York State, you're always required to have a sheet or a towel, but you have to have draping, all right? And I believe that's in most states as well. Draping is legally required, all right? And of course, for your first time, you're like, yeah, I want my draping. And but the reason why we want that is so that we can definitely have those boundaries and you have your privacy. And generally when I have my clients on the tables, they are on a table, they are, draped appropriately. So if I'm working on the back, only the back is exposed. If I'm only working on the leg, only the leg is exposed. And so on and so forth. So, if I'm working on the glutes, if somebody takes off their underwear, if they're comfortable with that, and I'll ask them first, especially if it's their first time, is all right to work over the skin. And some people are like, no, then we'll work over the sheet, unless they don't want that work at all, which I would emphasize to that new client that it should they should get work there, because I almost feel like I cheat my clients when I don't work that area. But any therapist should always respect, what you want during a session, right? So, obviously if you're getting a massage and the therapist is beating the ever-loving crap out of you and you're like, oh my God, this is so painful, well, then you need to speak up, because some therapists are not so intuitive when it comes to that. And don't be sorry. This is your massage session, right? So you need to let them know if the pressure is too much. Maybe if it's not enough, maybe your therapist feels like it's just like, maybe a little feather touch and you need more. Let them know, because it's your session. You paid for this. Let them know. All right. And in the session, you have the power to stop the session. If you're uncomfortable with the therapist, if you don't like what's going on, that's your ability. You can stop the session at any point in time. Now that also goes both ways. So if you're being creepy, if you're disrespecting the therapist and maybe sexually disrespecting the therapist, because I know that happens quite a bit with the females in my profession, then they have every right to stop the session with the full payment due. All right, so that goes both ways. But the more you communicate with what you want and need for a massage, the better your experience is going to be. All right, the less communicative you are during the session, you're going to probably walk away thinking, I don't want to go. I don't want massage. It didn't work for me. I didn't like it. So you always want to communicate with your therapist. All right. And on top of that, you generally, if I go in for massage, I always like to do a little bit of homework on my therapist first. Generally the franchises hire people that are pretty good. Generally they hire people that are fresh out of school, that have maybe something to prove and they're trying to continue their skills. Generally, I look for people like me that are in private practice, because we're always striving to be better. But it's always at your preference, right? So I would do your homework before you have a stranger touch your naked body, just to make sure that they're legit, they're credible, and they have good reviews. I could tell you horror stories of what some of my clients have gone through. Some of my clients didn't even see their therapist. Like they turn off the lights in the room to come in, and there's horror stories. But anyway, you always want to make sure you know who's working on you. And if it's like a franchise, if you don't feel comfortable with that therapist, you can always reschedule with another therapist. But I would say most people are going to be legit, especially if they have their massage license. And also, massage licenses are supposed to be up on the wall. At least, if you ever want to see somebody's licensure, they should always be able to produce it, right? So like for instance, if you want to see mine's up here on the wall. Yeah, it's right there, the little one up there. So it's that little one up there under my other certificates for the different things the different courses that I've taken to advance my education when it comes to massage. So any therapist should be able to produce their license if you were ever kind of iffy about that therapist. So hopefully you find this video informative. And if you have any questions, ask them in the comments, and I will be sure to try to address them for you. Thank you very much. Bye.